It's 8828, right?
Good
Yes.
evening, Vigo's Court. I am your judge today, Judge Shep. Today I am joined by Counselor Q, and we are here to watch what is going to be an incredible match. We are watching Arctic Wolves face off against Corrupt.
Yeah, I'm super
Q, how are you
excited.
feeling about that?
Super excited for it. Like, we're talking about two teams that, throughout the preseason and even like week one, they've had some really good performances on both sides, both the killer and the survivor side. This is kind of a matchup that, I really enjoy. Like, I like and have really enjoyed the story of the two so far. Arctic Wolves being kind of a newer team, not just at Vigos, but in just kind of comp itself, and Corrupt having somewhat used to be the runaway team, also with a few new pieces. So kind of a new team in its own right, right?
Absolutely. And like you said, these teams have shown that they have come to play. They mean serious business. So I'm really interested to see what they bring to the table, knowing that the team they are facing is probably one of the most looked at teams in the league. For both of them, on either side.
Yeah, I can't help but imagine that maybe almost like a little bit, even though obviously like we've heard from multiple teams already, whenever they come into the interrogation room, that they really just try and look at it as like whoever the next week, looking at it 1 week at a time. But yeah, you mentioned it, with both of these teams being, rather strong names in Vigos thus far, can't help but imagine that they were probably looking forward to the week 2 matchup heading into the season.
Absolutely. These teams are incredibly strong, so I'm really interested to see what they decide to play. If they're going to shake it up a little. We did see a nurse week 1 from Corrupt, so I wonder, do we see another S tier week 2 from them, knowing that this is going to be a harder match?
Yeah, that's really interesting, especially knowing that right now, we're talking about a map that's not typically played like in the comp scene, right? So we'll actually go ahead and talk about that here real quick.
Yeah, let's take a look at our map. Today we are going to the Sanctum of Wrath, one of the Amoka Estate maps. It has a 6 hook minimum and an 11 hook maximum. It is a smaller map, and it is the Arctic Wolves home map, so they're going to have the home field advantage today.
It should be fun to watch because, on Sanctum of Wrath, there is obviously the one gen that obviously constantly spawns up top mid. That's like kind of the I guess you can call it like the power gen, right? But other than that, you usually I like Sanctum of Wrath because it's a pretty, even though it might not necessarily be like symmetric completely, it is in the sense that you always, well, almost always have the 3 gens one side, 3 gens the other side, right? The one top mid. So it's a nice like kind of way to take out RNG from a map that has some differences from what we're used to seeing in comp, right?
Although I will say, I want to see your killer here, and I do want to talk about what killers we think we're going to be seeing today. Yeah, I will say this is kind of a weird map. As you said, it's not like our traditional maps. It's kind of that lopsided dog bone. So I wonder what you think would be viable on this map, killer-wise.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting pick, and you talked about, because there is some things I like the idea of, if I feel like if they're at any point going to bring in S tier, maybe it be a nurse is my initial thought, but talked about it. Corrupt's already used the nurse once, right? So if Corrupt brings a nurse, that means they're done with the nurse for the season in week 2, and I don't think that's what we're going to see from them. But I'm not really sure. It should be rather interesting.
I agree with you. I feel like it's just a really weird map, and I don't know if there is really a very good pick. If they've got a good Demogorgon, a Demogorgon might be able to traverse this map easily. But otherwise, it's just kind of a strange map. You've got a lot of really small little obstacles that don't really do anything for anyone, but kind of be a hindrance, especially on the sides. If they don't go up into that main temple, on the sides, you have all those little creepy statues that kind of provide some issues.
Yeah, I would say the one thing that might make some sense, and I feel like it's a killer we've been talking a lot about recently, is, well, if it's not an S tier killer, a killer that could work on this map, being the Huntress, especially because you talked about like around the middle portion, other than like where the statues, but you do have areas where you can still throw hatches through there. But when we talk about before you get to the area of the gens on either side, you have some lower standing structures, right? So even if you're in loop, you can still get some hits through with your hatchet.
Yeah, I think actually Huntress is a really good choice for this map. I have seen her use on this map successfully in other competitive scenarios. So I would agree that's probably one of the best ranged killers for this map. Um, Otherwise, I'm really having trouble thinking of anyone else. While I ponder that, do you have any invites from Solar Blazer?
Um,
Waiting for you.
I don't have any from Solar Blazer, but I am in a lobby with Vercon at the moment.
You need to invite Solar Blazer.
Oh,
My bad.
invite Solar Blazer. Let me see here real quick. I know that Wispy had added me because I don't see Solar Blazer on the minute, so we'll go ahead and shoot her an invite and get her in here. Since she's the coach of the team, and that should probably
Sure,
work
she can
out. I
get her.
imagine.
Yeah, I'm sure she can get her teammate settled out.
One thing to think about. I'm trying to remember because I think when this map came up before, I want to say we've seen Arctic Wolves on this map in the preseason, and we saw twins come out. I could be wrong on that. I would have to like make sure to go back and double check, but that is something that Arctic Wolves maybe have in the back pocket as far as for them for a killer choice here.
Yeah, that also makes a lot of sense to me. Now that you bring it up. Also, your request is probably going to be in Steam.
Yeah, I'll do a double check here. Hey, look at that! I do got one here. Yeah, because we definitely want to get these folks in here rocking and rolling. I do gotta say though, as far I like with this map, because of so many options that are like I wouldn't say that are available, but because there are so many, they're like I would say options that are available. Because I would say that there aren't so many like obvious choices. I like that we might see some different killers than we're used to kind of seeing in like the competitive scene, right?
Yeah, I do like that this map offers the opportunity for killers that might not be the quote unquote meta in comp right now to kind of shine.
Mhm.
Some of those lower tier, like A tier, maybe B tier killers even, where just the strange RNG of this map would benefit somebody who's lower on the tier list rather than one of our higher tier killers.
Now we have seen Bubba come out once. Do you think like here's a map where Bubba comes out, or maybe even like an Insidious Bubba?
Insidious Bubba, as much as it would thrill my little heart to see it, I don't know if that's a pick we see early on in the match at the very least.
I like it. So I like here Arctic Wolves is coming out here on the Survivor side. And I'm gonna be really interested to see this matchup here, because Vercon is a name that in the competitive scene has been around for a while. It's kind of known for being like a very strong and consistent killer, right? Against an Arctic Wolves team who really has been and I would say has kind of been in their bag lately, especially on the Survivor side. So I feel like this first trial here really helped set the tone for the rest.
Absolutely. I think Arctic Wolves has shown that their Survivor team is incredibly strong, as well as their killers. But I mean, you got to imagine practicing against killers that are that good. Your Survivors are not going to be slacking in any way. So I'm very interested to see how they do against Vercon, who has proven that he's pretty fucking competent as a killer. Very excited. I can't express how excited I am to watch this matchup. It is going to be very thrilling from beginning to end. I think we're going to be left on the edges of our seat the entire time because these two teams are so well matched against each other.
I also like seeing as far as just kind of the good like spirits and competitive nature between our two teams already, just seeing them basically having a nice little welcoming of one of another into the competitive scene. I know some people sometimes mistake the wrong things for like being competitive DBD, and as we can see here, right, there's people being in really good spirits, just getting together and playing a game we love to play, right?
Absolutely. I feel like people think that competitive DBD is like really toxic and what you would see in pubs maybe, but you got to remember, this isn't pubs. We're all mostly friends around here, or we all are very familiar with each other. This is kind of a scene, so you're not going to see what you see in pubs. We're not random strangers to one another. We are all in some way, shape, or form familiar with each other. So you end up seeing a lot of really nice camaraderie, a lot of really beautiful sportsmanship between the teams. And I think it is important to appreciate that for what it is, because I think a lot of people are maybe intimidated by comp because they think it's going to be this awful like sweat lord
Right.
take on it. Yeah, exactly. But really it's not. It's a very welcoming community. I have only been in comp for this season of Vigos. Honestly, this is like my first season, and I cannot explain the amount of support and welcoming I've received. So
Yeah.
honestly, such a good community.
And I can even say the same. I mean, I've only just recently kind of gotten into it. It's just a really awesome community to get into. I see we got a lot of people ready. Are we ready to get into this trial here?
I think it looks like we are ready for you to switch
All
on
right,
over
let's
and
go
get
ahead and
this
do it.
trial started.
All right, let's go ahead and slide on into the spectator role here. I see we've got 4 survivors. I'm sure at this point, Burkon's probably just waiting for me to say good to go. Oh, no, it looks like he got the hint. I love it. See it. So again, we're going on to Sanctum of Wrath, Sanctum of Wrath, however you want to pronounce it. I need to know, though, right now, if you had to call a killer for Trial 1, who are we seeing?
Huntress.
Huntress?
I think Huntress. You brought up a good point earlier. I think it's going to be Huntress.
I love to see it because I don't think we've seen Huntress come out yet for Corrupt, if I'm not mistaken. We are going to see a couple of, make sure we've got all of our offerings and everything there. And while we're loading into trial number 1, let's go ahead and talk about how Burkon can go ahead and stack up these points for Corrupt.
Absolutely. Let's talk about how our killers can earn some points. So that first and second hook are going to be 2 points each. That third hook is 3 points. However, progressions are worth 1 less point. So you don't want them to progress on hook if you can avoid it. The 7th and 8th progressions are worth 1 point each. A 4K is an additional 2 points. So you want to kill them all if you can. Get them all down. Entity kills are going to be worth the corresponding hook state plus the progressions. So 1 point less for the progressions that you would have earned there, or for the hook states you would have earned there. And then, however, if you let your survivors bleed out on the ground, you get 0 points. There is a total of 30 points available. For more on rules, check out !rules in chat.
And it does actually look like we're getting better with these load times here as well. So let's go ahead and jump right on down into it. And then, again, keep in mind, this is trial number 1. Corrupt versus Arctic Wolves. Burkon out here. And we see the spirit. I like it. Maybe going for a little bit of that home field advantage play. I like coming out heavy, coming out with one of the stronger killers here, trying to get off to a good foot, especially knowing that you are going against a team that is known for relatively strong survivor play here. We are going to see our survivor here throwing Shack Pallet very early. If we happen to have anybody in here that's not really familiar with competitive DBD, I might know you might be sitting there going, but why Shack Pallet at 5 gens? But our survivor here knows that the rest of the teammates are across the map, working on those gens, holding M1, hitting some skill checks, so it's okay if you waste those pallets a little early, but you are going to see there with Burkon while we're looking around, we see those gens across the map. That corrupt intervention right now, that means across the map, generators can't be worked on, while on the portion of the map that Burkon's currently in, you're able to put pressure onto those generators here.
Pretty good spawning for Burkon, honestly. I think that is the benefit of this dogbone map kind of as well. He's going to start on one side, Corrupt's going to go where he's not.
Yeah, and we did see there when when Burkon was pushing up onto that gen up in the top middle there, we did see those sparks coming off the gen. So that is going to be that ruin that's helping with the regression there. Ooh, we do see some, looks like maybe a blown skill check. That is going to be probably one of those situations, right? We've all been there. You got to let off and, oh, there's a skill check that pops up. Which is going to unfortunately cause a little bit of extra regression. But we do hear also on the left here a little bit of progress on that gen. So we are seeing the Arctic Wolves, like we mentioned, being good at spreading that pressure here. Burkon still yet to achieve a down, so definitely will hope that you can see a down here on the Nancy. That's going to be a down on Solar Blazer, but keep in mind that top middle gen had a lot of progress, and we see one in the corner going off here, and that actually, when we turned around, not sure if you saw that, but actually the top mid gen is now blocked. That's going to be that deadlock, and it's been interesting seeing a lot of teams opt to go for the deadlock play.
Absolutely. Deadlock has been a very popular perk this season. You see it pretty much every single game. And it looks like also, Q, is that a basement hook?
That is a basement hook, and keep in mind, this is a basement hook that's over on this side of the map where the gens probably have the most progress too, right? Because Corrupt Intervention just came off of those gens across the way, so you have the ability right now to put some pressure on at least this gen right here. Might not be pushing up top mid, which is smart because you don't want to like overextend and allow a free unhook out of the basement. Burkon's actually probably going to try the best that he can to make sure it's either a 1-for-1 if somebody comes in for the save, or make sure that he's forces a second stage onto Solar Blazer here in the basement. That is going to be the middle gen getting done there at this point, but we do have a little bit of valuable information right now if you're Vercon, knowing that the gen that's closest to you is the one that has the most progress, and you still have a little bit of added protection from Ruin.
And we do see another survivor coming in, maybe trying to set up this, attempted this save before their Nancy goes to second stage. I don't think that's going to happen. Not quite, unfortunately, for Nancy down there.
Now, of course, the good news for Arctic Wolves. Do you lose a hook, like a hook state for your Solar Blazer? Yeah, but you took away a point from Corrupt there, right? By making it a progression versus it being another hook state. And since everybody was probably, or since no one was really close, you probably got quite a bit of progress on some gens. You're getting pretty close on your objective here. We do see a nice body block coming in from the Nia. That's going to be important because if you are the Nancy right now, you need to make sure you're getting to protection or getting like out to safety. Keep in mind, you are on death hook here. You were forced into that second stage. You have a spirit closing in. Oh, that's going to be a down there as well. The question is Solar Blazer the one that's holding on to the decisive strike? 1 in 4 chance. And that's going to be a no.
But we do see, for Solar Blazers down, another gen pop-up. So for 1 death, they got 3 gens done. I'll say that's still pretty good for our survivors here.
I would agree, you know, getting the extra gen is nice. The one thing that's definitely tough, though, right, is you get the save that came in, like, right after Solar Blazer went to second stage, right? Instead of maybe you could have let him hang for a little bit and possibly have gotten another gen done, because anybody who's played Dead by Daylight knows once you go from a 4v1 to a 3v1, all of the strategy changes.
Absolutely, the game becomes a lot harder when you lose that extra survivor there.
Now, we do see Vercon coming over this way. Also, keep in mind, we pushed that Survivor off of that gen. We do have the Sparks coming off of that gen, which does mean Ruin is still in play here. Oh, get stunned, stupid! Plus 10 wood to the face there. Nice throw by Spider, but Spider really not able to use the stun to build too much distance. However, it looks like Vercon's gotten a little lost in the sauce. Oh, nope. You've actually been able to locate your Survivor here one more time. The question is, with the new change in the phase, are you going to be able to mind game the pallet? Does not look like Vercon's been able to do so thus far. And you got to keep in mind, oh, that's actually a 4th gen getting done across the way. And that means we only have 1 more gen left to be complete until we can start working on those exit gates.
And it looks like Vercon's having a little bit of trouble with this Nancy here. She's definitely very smart about where she's running to.
Yeah, we're seeing Spider being able to put the jukes on a little bit, really making sure that they're able to extend this chase here. The one thing that's interesting to keep in mind, you talked about the information earlier from Deadlock. We saw when the 4th gen got done that the gen that's closest to us was the one that was farthest progressed, but you'll notice that it's not that far along. Ooh, that's going to be a down. You do get a down. But you notice you might have heard that other pop back there. That was Ruin getting cleansed. So now you have no extra help as far as regression on this last gen defense.
It does look like, knowing that his Ruin is gone, Vercon is chosen to take Lori up to this center hook where he can kind of watch the hook and watch everything going on around him.
Yeah, I like this, right? You pull your Survivor a little bit closer, that way you can come over here the way that you did, put instant pressure onto the Nia. Unfortunately, we did see a very quick save, but since we saw the quick save, we know that does mean that there was probably nobody else working on any more gens. We came over to where the Nia was. It didn't sound like that gen had too much progress, not even a full piston yet, so not quite to 25%. So you do have some time here, knowing that it takes about 80 seconds to complete a gen. You have about 60 seconds worth of gen time left at most, or at minimum on any gen right now.
Yeah, and if I'm Vercon, I'm not sweating it too much. I mean, there are still a lot of points to be gained here for either side. But the odds are kind of in his favor, even with Ruin down.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing here, when we take a look across the way, ooh, nice play through the pallet. I do believe it looked like we were looking for a potential another pallet to the face for Vercon there. Instead, that's actually going to be a down. And, but that is going to be a 5th gen coming in across the way. Keep in mind here now that both of those doors, as you can see, are actually relatively far away from the hook. You might see the Survivor splitting the door, but if they're splitting the doors, that means no one's going for the save.
And I'm wondering if you noticed what I noticed there, Q. Do you see that haste icon on our spirit here?
Yeah, we see the haste icon that popped up onto the spirit, and that's going to be huge because right now you have a fully healthy survivor as well as a hurt survivor. Ooh, you're coming in on the Lori. I can't help but imagine that the Lori probably had to have had wake up with as quick as that came across. You probably now at this point have Ace moving in for the save, or Ace is opening the other door. With so many hook states that are up on it currently, and after they just saw that Burkon has Noed here, I would not be surprised to see our friend Ace just opt to go for the escape and take the 2 out.
I absolutely do believe you're right there. It would be the smart move if he can't find that Noed right away to get out of there. And it looked like he got pretty good totem spawns for both of his totems.
Yeah, and so that is going to be, he had a good protection as far as on the rune there, and you mentioned he had a really good totem spawn with that Noed there being right exactly next to the hook, so you had to have been on the, basically right there for the save anyways. To be able to see the actual totem. So that is going to be the 2K there. Really strong start, I would say. And I would say with the changes to Spirit, that's probably about what we can expect to see from Spirit on average in comp now. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. The directional phasing is definitely helpful to survivors. That was one of the big things that was really hard to deal with Spirit before, is you could tell that she might be coming, you just couldn't tell from where. So this does provide the survivors a chance to kind of like counterplay her power there.
Now we will see though, with the 2 escape, that Arctic Wolves able to keep the score relatively close, which is kind of what you want to do on the survivor side in kind of this little back and forth that we have, right? Because now you set your killer side up to go up back to back, and that's the side that you can get the more points on. As we just talked about, the 30 points you get there. So a really good position, I would say, for Arctic.
Yeah, I will note, however, a lot of times we see the survivor teams are no joke in this tourney. A lot of the times you will see that the survivor side is actually the stronger side for a team. And I do know that corrupt survivors, they're no slackers.
Yeah, that's true. Especially because Corrupt has, we mentioned it before, quite a bit of what used to be the Runaways. I mean, at least for if Zaf is available today, I don't know what his uni schedule is like, but if you have the 3 of the original Runaway boys together, Burkon, Z, and Chungus, and I think Keeper has kind of been the 4th they've been really kind of trying to solidify on with the survivor side. They really seem to be coming together as a really strong foursome unit, to be like a real force to be reckoned with.
They are a very strong unit, those 4 together, and if anyone has watched old Runaway games, you'll know that they have a really clean teamwork. So I'm sure even folding in a new 4th person into that mix, I'm sure they will still enforce the same camaraderie between one another and the same really clean communications.
Yeah, I mean, I really know from experience as far as working with, the 3 boys from the Runaways. Anybody who's been through as far as over on our channel, we did the Ash to Erie run with them last month. And that was one thing that I heard from my community so much, was they were really impressed with just the communication, the rotations, and it's almost like they're able to get through those rotations and start them up before they even have to call them out, because they have that really good chemistry together. It's really impressive.
Yeah, and I will say they also have shown an incredible amount of map knowledge just between their survivors. They know exactly where they're going. They know exactly what they're doing. I think they can kind of trust each other to rotate without the communication, because they pretty much know what's going on the map at almost any given moment with that knowledge that they have.
And I'll be interested to see here, again, especially with Arctic Wolves, we're now coming out. We do see that Solar Blazer is on that killer side. Not saying that we see it in either game, but, maybe we see a Twins come out. I'm not going to say it's this game, but I am going to say that in one of the next 2 games, I am predicting a Twins killer to come out, I think.
I think Twins will do really well on that map, and it looks like we might be just about ready for you to go ahead and switch on over so we can find out just who we are going to be seeing as our killer here.
I'm excited.
Gotta love the summer dress Kate.
I will go ahead and let them know in chat that we are good to go. And I'm going to be interested here because, we kind of mentioned it. Arctic Wolves coming out and, actually they pulled themselves into a 1-point lead here going into the back-to-back killer set, right? So, gotta be feeling like Solar Blazer at least feels a little bit more comfortable heading into Trial 2, knowing that you, like, it sounds weird to say you're comfortable, but with a 1-point lead, right? But having, like, 1-point lead after a Survivor round feels more than 1 point. Like, it's like a bigger difference than 1 point, right?
Absolutely. I think it would be wise to not be too comfortable though if you're the killer here because as we've seen before, corrupt survivors are pretty good. So it could be that they end up pulling ahead with a 1-point lead, just like Arctic Wolves managed to do with their survivor squad. But I also know Arctic Wolves killers are solid, so I can't really. It feels weird to make a prediction one way or the other because they're both very good at what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely anticipate that this is going to be a game that is going to go down to like the end of Trial 4. You know what I mean? Like we're not going to know until like the doors are open and we know exactly how many people are escaping. I think as far as Trial 4, this is going to be a matchup that is probably a matchup that we can probably I would say call a potential like semifinal type of matchup potential for the playoffs. I would say I think both of these teams have kind of showed the potential that they're here to play and will probably make it that far. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And while it is still early in the season, and at this point it could be anyone's game, these two have shown that they're pretty strong competitors. And if anyone has a chance to make it there, it's one of these two teams.
Yeah, I don't anticipate Arctic Wolves here on the killer side allowing the team for Corrupt to build up too much pressure. We've really seen Solar Blazer really coming out into his own. When we saw Arctic Wolves, we mentioned at the start, right? Arctic Wolves are kind of like a newer team to comp. At first, we saw that Wispy was running the killer for them while kind of being the coach of their Survivor side. Now we've seen Solar Blazer really like taking on the role of like being the killer for them, right? And it's been really fun to watch. I think Solar Blazer, I think it was 2 weeks ago, was our Killer of the Week, which was really exciting to see someone. It's like in his debut week, and I feel like every time that we've seen Solar Blazer since, we've seen some vast improvement. So I'll be interested to see how he does up against such a formidable foe.
Absolutely. Solar Blazer has shown that he is constantly learning after every match. And with a coach like Wispy, I mean, it's hard to go wrong here. So I am really excited to see what he pulls out this week. He has proven that he is somebody to watch in this competition, or in this league.
Yeah, and I like it because it seems like the couple times we've had him like in the interrogation room, seems like a really humble kid. So it's good to see that someone who's new and just very hungry to play, being able to like see the fruits of their hard work. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I will say everyone in this tourney, the greatest thing about them is that they just want to play this game.
Yep. So we do see all of our offerings here. We talked about how Vercon was able to put up the killer points, but now with Corrupt being on the survivor side, let's talk about how they can put those points up on that side of matchmaking, shall we?
You got it, dude. Let's talk about what our survivors can do to earn those points and close or secure that lead. For those first and second gen are worth 1 point each, and that third and fourth gen are worth 2 points each. That fifth gen is 3 points as well. But where the survivors get the most points is in those escapes. That first escape is 1 point. That second escape is 2 points. That third escape is 4 points. And that fourth escape, a whopping 6 points for that fourth escape. So very important to get everybody out if you can. If you escape with 2 or more hook states remaining, so you only get hooked once or no times, you also get an additional 1 point for each survivor that escapes with those states remaining. There are 26 points available for our survivors to earn, and for more on rules, you can check !rules in chat.
That is right. And we are already loaded in. Quick load times tonight. You'll love to see it. And an interesting pick. I think you might have, I can't remember if you had brought up this killer earlier, but we're seeing the Wraith coming out.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I feel definitely worth mentioning that the Wraith, even though the Wraith did get a buff, was at this point like 3 months ago, definitely a little stronger than the Wraith was at one point. Still tends to struggle a little bit more as far as in the early portion here. We do see able to locate a survivor relatively early. Ooh, Crave says plus 10 wood to the face. Is going to be able to build a little bit of distance there, but we are going to see with that add-on there, every time Solar Blazer happens to like break a pallet or kick a generator while they are in stealth, it actually gets them out of stealth, which is actually a really valuable add-on for the Wraith, knowing that you can kind of put extra pressure onto survivors after getting rid of some of the getting rid of some of the pallets and things, right?
Absolutely. Not quite as much time bought by forcing a killer to break the pallet if they just break the pallet like it's tissue paper.
Yeah, resources. That's the word I was looking for. Breaking the resources. English is hard. We are going to see, though, there after the kick, and that's kind of where we saw the extra value, right? You heard the cloaking, so you see the kick coming in. You get a little bit closer, but, oh, by the way, I'm uncloaked, fool. And there's an M1 to the face, and Solar Blazer now has a little bit of pressure amongst a couple of survivors here. Definitely going to be looking for a quick down. Unfortunately, did not commit through the pallet there. Probably would have been able to get the hit before the actual pallet drop itself, but it is kind of nice because you got the pallet drop, so now you'll be able to remove one more resource out of the trial after this hook here, but you are going to see 2 gens getting done by Corrupt here. A bunch of filthy gen rushers, chat.
Very, very quick on those gens, and I do want to note, this is not the first time we've seen Solar Blazer play Wraith here. Not on this map, but we have seen him play Wraith before in Vigos.
Yeah, and you know, we're seeing one thing I did want to point out. You know, we had talked before how this map can sometimes give you the equal, like, 3 on one side, 3 on the other. They did have a very interesting 3-gen setup on this. I don't know if you're noticing that. Between the gen that's done right here next to the unhook and the 2 on that side. So, good to see for Corrupt that they were able to get that 3-gen broken up really, really quick. And if they're able to get that top gen done here relatively soon, at that point, all sort of links for a 3-gen will at that point be gone for Solar Blazer. And this is tough because now you're taking chase with Vercon here. Vercon is not your survivor that already has a hook, and you're taking the body burn just before the uncloak, unfortunately allowing Vercon to build some distance to a pallet.
And we do see that break speed kind of come in play here to help get around this obstacle a little bit quicker. Let's see if he can catch, and he does. He does indeed catch Vercon right before he can get to that wall.
Yeah, and we are going to see that is going to be a hook. That's going to be hook number 2, but that is hook number 1 for Vercon. So you have 2 fresh hooks thus far. You have only gotten 2 generators complete if you are Corrupt, but if I happen to know Corrupt as well as I think I do, they're probably split up amongst 2 gens. Well, now I'm looking silly because if they're split up amongst 2 gens, it would be the 2 gens on the opposite side of the map, but there's 2 gens getting done. Like I said, chat, they're split up amongst 2 gens. Yeah.
Corrupt being very consistent here, showing that they are going to always have 2 people on those generators if they can afford to.
Yeah, and we saw there, Vercon almost had gotten the body burn, and actually Solar Blazer getting that extra value, right, from coming uncloaked out of the actual pallet break itself, which then allowed him to look up, not get the blind completely, allowed him to push extra pressure into Vercon, and Vercon is now on the hook for hook number 2. We do see some scratch marks around here. Not quite able to make it all the way over to the window in order to block it there, but oh, I thought we were going to be able to make the block there. Solar Blazer now, I really like the way that he's playing this, but keep in mind, we only have 1 generator left. You really got to uncloak and start putting some pressure onto this Nia here.
Yeah, definitely not the time, because unfortunately, while you're cloaked, as you all know, you can't deal any damage. Oh, do you see what I see there, Q?
What's that?
I thought I saw a broken status for a second one there.
This broken status was left over from the first time on Vercon, I do believe. I think Vercon might have actually gotten the deliverance the first time around and then was put back down onto the ground there, because we did see the 2 different survivors there. But keep in mind that at this point that Vercon has already been on the hook twice. So we do see, I believe that Zaf is moving in, coming in for the save, or coming in for the body block. Should allow Vercon to make it to the window here at the TNL wall. But that is going to now be 2 survivors that are at the entrance states and just 1 health status away from being on the ground. We are going to see Solar Blazer moving around here. It did look like maybe would have been able to bait out and get the switch over onto the ace. You are able to get the vault there, but you're playing some pretty tough games here because you don't really have any resources. There's the dead hard for distance, but at this point, Solar Blazer able to get the pull through the window. This is going to be what's important, chat. Keep this in mind. The pull through the window will not expose to our survivors that our killer here has NOED. You are looking on the right. We have that haste status. We have the NOED. We have No Way Out still here in play as well, so we could still be looking at Solar Blazer being able to secure one more elimination before the end of the trial.
Absolutely. And Noah has been pretty popular here for very good reason. It's a very good chance to bring yourself. Ooh, the body block at the window.
That's huge because I think that's actually a fresh hook on Zaf, if I'm not mistaken, meaning you might be looking at adding a hook plus 2 additional progressions if you're able to secure the elimination here. We do happen to know that at this point, they do not have any more protection from No Way Out. Unfortunately, you had only gotten 2 stacks throughout the course of the trial. We have made our way over here towards the Kate. We see the Kate working the way around here. Kate able to get plus 10 wood to the face, gets done so bad. Now you've really got to be careful because Solar Blazer needs to know that we've probably got, a survivor going in for the door behind him, I was going to say, but that's a down. This is huge.
Definitely some good pressure by Noed here. If I know anything about Corrupt, they're probably thinking about trying to find that totem. But honestly, if I were them, I think I would just get out with what I can with Noed on the table on such a such a spread out map for totems.
Yeah, I would not be surprised, especially seeing here at this point, Solar Blazer bringing Crave across the map and away from the 2 doors there, seeing Corrupt just take the 2 out. I think the thought there as far as going for the 1-in-1, or the 1-for-1, was that Zaf was a fresh hook and was figuring, hey, let's at least take the risk. If we happen to 1-for-1 trade, we're not really losing any extra like hooks or progressions, right? But you could have potentially gotten more points. But now with the hook being that far away, really smart move to take the 2 out.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have seen a lot of really smart gameplay from our survivors throughout the entirety of the league, really being very considerate of, okay, if someone has to die here, it is not going to be the person who has 1 hook or less. It is going to be somebody who we can kind of afford to lose less points with.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I did want to point out, and I forgot to point out actually before I did the transition, but Burkon did indeed have the deliverance. So that was that broken status that you had noticed there briefly. And I believe it was because he had done the deliverance save off of the first hook, which allowed him to get the down a little bit quicker. But if I had to guess, since the deliverance was on that hook, even though he went down again relatively quickly, that was what allowed Corrupt to kind of build up some extra gen pressure there.
Absolutely. Definitely, deliverance has proven to be very important to any survivors, really. It does buy a little bit of time, allows for you to focus on other things. Even if your friend is on the hook, you don't really have to worry about it because, you know, they can kind of handle themselves at that point.
Now, if we have anybody that happened to maybe happened to stroll in during the last trial or even during the last 2 trials, we talked about the map before we actually went into the matchup itself. But since we're at like the halftime here, let's go ahead and actually talk about the map that we're playing on today.
Absolutely. Let's talk about it. All right, guys. We are on the Sanctum of Wrath, one of the Yamoka Estate maps. It is not a too large map, but it can seem pretty big when you're looking down at it. With a 6 hook minimum and an 11 hook maximum, it can get, you know, pretty iffy there depending on how your hooks spawn.
Yeah, you talked about it. You know, with it being the 9,000 and some odd meters, it does classify it as a smaller map, less chances for hook. And we have seen that be something that plays out before in Vigo's court. It's been a little, I think it hasn't been since the preseason, but we have seen a couple times where we're having like a weird standoff at the end game because there's a down survivor in the corner that we need to have the entity sacrifice before the bleed out sort of situation, right? That way they're able to capture those points. So definitely adds like an extra layer of strategy knowing that you have less hooks available.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, generally speaking, a lot of the maps we've seen so far have a bigger hook maximum. I think usually it's about 13. So definitely having only 11 hooks available to you at the most can be pretty difficult to deal with, especially with a map where there's so many small obstacles and really weird pallet spawns that if you're not careful, something really disastrous could happen for you as a killer on this map.
Yeah, I think you touched on a very interesting point. Like a lot of it is known for having a decent amount of of those filler pallets in the middle, while also having a minimum amount of like jungle gyms and TNL walls and kind of some of the bigger resources and tiles that we sometimes see teams being able to use and combine together to waste a lot of the killer's time on other maps, right?
Yeah. You really only see the jungle gyms, like traditional jungle gyms, kind of like in the four corner or in the three corners, not including the corner that the shack is in usually. But you'll also see a lot of the like pagodas, a lot of the rocks, trees. You'll get those statues on either side of the main building. A lot of really unusual generations that you don't see a lot of on the other maps. Not to also disregard the fact that I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm on these maps and I'm like, is this bamboo that I can walk through, or is this
Right.
bamboo that I cannot walk through? Like the hitboxes on things here and what you can and cannot walk through, kind of iffy if you're not super familiar with what's going on the map.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yamaoka is definitely one of the maps that I do, if I have to think about it, I believe has the most opportunities to fat shame you, which is a kind of a big feels bad sometimes, especially if you happen to get caught in one of those situations while mid-chase, right?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of a weird, like, well, too many blood points, I guess. I don't know. We just had an anniversary, too much cake, maybe. But either way, you're not going to get through that gap in the trees that you think you can get through, which can really screw you over in the wrong situation.
Now, interesting thing here, we are seeing at this point, it's what, a 6-point lead for Arctic Wolves at what's essentially halftime. Definitely got to be feeling good about where you're at. But if I'm Arctic Wolves here, I'm definitely making sure on the killer side that I'm keeping my foot on the gas. Maybe this is where we see the twins come out, knowing that Solar Blazer is kind of a twin main. It is still maybe not the best twin map, but if you can secure yourself a W against a team like Corrupt, especially where you can play and where you're not using a S tier killer, but still using a couple of strong killers, I feel like that's a smart play here for Arctic.
Absolutely. I think with twins, because this is more of like a dog bone map in the way that it's built, you can kind of create really good choke points for yourself and isolate the sectors of the map because you can switch between Charlotte and Victor. So one can kind of be guarding one area and you can have the other kind of chasing people around in the other. But it does look like we can find out who our killer is going to be in just a moment here because I think everybody's kind of ready.
Perfect. I'm excited. I saw that Burkon was trying to tell me that we didn't need 2 killers, but I needed to remind him that the bell doesn't dismiss the class that... No, wait. That's not...
The bell doesn't dismiss the class. I do.
Is that the one it is?
That is how that goes, yeah.
All right.
I don't dismiss anyone by that.
We are going to see, so we're going to want to make sure here real quick before we switch over, we're going to want to make sure that we have our offerings. We do see that we have 5 offerings. We are going to see that is the 4 Bloody Blueprint, the Cut Coin. And let's go ahead and talk about some of these ban rules, shall we?
You got it, dude. Here in Vigo's court, got a couple things that just are not allowed. So let's talk about them. Yellow items and add-ons are what is allowed, nothing above that, only 1 of each perk and item. However, you can have duplicate BTs. That's all right with us. Go ahead and save your friends. There are a couple of banned perks that you should be aware of. Built to last, prove thyself starstruck, not allowed. No go. Haunted ground, lethal pursuer, boons, and clairvoyance. Also, we don't want to see those here either. Sorry about that. Killers used are limited to twice a season. So, there goes. I think that means Wraith is gone for Arctic Wolves here. Also, survivors are limited to 1 character per team. Violations are subject to penalties. If you want to know what those penalties are, and for more on our rules, you can check exclamation mark rules in chat.
All right, we are already again the quick load times. You love to see it, and I just want to say that I called it. We got a twins coming out here from Solar Blazer again. Solar Blazer is kind of known as a twins main. We do see the Victor out early, okay, hold on. We're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do that. Okay, perfect. I was just that camera angle was really messing with me for a second there, but we see we see Solar Blazer coming out with the twins, and I like this pick because it really I feel like it gives you an ample opportunity to really lock in the win here.
Absolutely. You can put down a lot of pressures with the twins essentially being in 2 places at once. So you can camp Charlotte over in one place and go have Victor harass people in another.
Yeah, now we are going to see here, this is the one little nice extra little bit of information that you can kind of get from the twins, right? We do see coming in here, we see that killer instinct lets us know that we have another survivor coming across the way here. One thing to keep in mind is usually the twins are a killer that you don't want to give extra M1s to, right? We actually see, and we can talk about now, Crave is actually broken. Forced Penance being a perk that I really feel like has become like a staple on twins in the comp scene.
Absolutely. A lot of people, I think, realize now that the best gameplay against the twins is to buddy up and protect each other. So the way around that force penance.
Yeah, and we are going to see there a really quick crush onto Victor there by our ace, by Zap. That is going to be generator number 1 getting done across the way. We are going to see Solar Blazer whipping out. The Victor is going to be able to get the application onto Zap here as well. Solar Blazer right now doing what the twins are notorious for doing, right? Spreading that pressure. We saw the Force Penance coming in there. Also worth mentioning right now, we do have Ruin in play here. We do have a hook over here on what was the uncorrupt side of the map. And then also to keep in mind, we've got a lot of Thanatophobia value from Solar Blazer thus far, being able to keep a lot of people injured.
Absolutely. Thanatophobia, I think, is also a very valuable perk on Charlotte and Victor because they do, again, put out just an incredible amount of pressure and they can very easily distribute injured states.
Yeah, now we do see we came across the way here. We were able to locate the reset point. Unfortunately, not able to get the application onto Vercon here, but, ooh, and another nice juke by Vercon. Is it the shoes? We are going to see a little bit of the clicky trying to engage the chase here, but we are also going to see Solar Blazer instead opting to go across. We were going to check on our hook, I believe, but instead we saw the killer instinct. We were trying to get an application. Nice play by Vercon there because it made Solar Blazer make the decision to switch back over to Victor, which allowed for the safe save. Now, Chungus did take the hit here with the protection hit since you're really close to Crave. So that's another broken status coming in here. But keep in mind, we are seeing Solar Blazer still keeping pursuit onto Crave. This is huge because that would be hook number 2 already on Crave.
Absolutely, and I think using Victor while you got him out is a pretty good idea because even if you find someone who is not injured, like who doesn't find Arnea, that's still a lot of pressure because they have to deal with Victor piggybacking along.
Yeah, especially too, keeping in mind we saw there, right, as we came over and we found Vercon on that gen, when Vercon let go of the gen, we did see those sparks fly. So that means we do still have some protection from the ruin, which is nice. We are going to see Solar Blazer being very bold, going instantly for the save instead of instantly for the grab instead of looking around the pallet. Nobody there for the save though, so that's going to be hook number 2 by Crave. That's a second gen getting done across the way, but there was also another noise indicator across the way, chat. I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but that's Ruin getting cleansed. That's a lot of help for Corrupt and some pressure pushed back onto Solar Blazer right now.
Rip to Ruin, unfortunately, but hopefully with Victor out and attached to Vercon like that, Solar Blazer can keep up the pressure without really needing it.
Yeah, so now the good news is, at least if you have people who were across the map that were working on a gen who now need to come in and assist with the save, since Solar Blazer was able to get the application onto Vercon with a Victor there, at least now those gens are no longer regressing since you cleansed the ruin, right? So you have that working in your favor, but especially because if I had to guess, if you're coming in for the save, you are probably bringing over both Chungus, who you're seeing right here, and you probably have a second player coming in shortly behind him.
Yeah, that would be the smartest play here. You don't want to play it too risky because Kate is dangerously close to dying on this hook.
Yeah, and that's tough, and it looks like I was indeed wrong. You know, as much as I talk about feeling like I know what these boys are doing, they keep showing that they're doing other things here, and that's actually going to be result in an elimination that's huge because there's still 3 gens left to be complete, and you are down to a 3v1 already.
Oh. We do see the Dead Heart to try to avoid Victor, but Victor was having none of that. Vercon will go down.
And that's tough here. Now, at least you do have a little bit of good information right now, knowing with as far as the killer instinct that you're getting off of Victor there, that you are not seeing anybody else, no other heartbeats. But the only thing that might be a little concerning at that point is more than likely that means you have 2 survivors split up on 2 of those last 3 gens that need to be complete before they can power up the doors.
Absolutely. If Corrupt wants to bring this back and make it a closer game than what it is right now, they need to be focusing on those generators and spreading that pressure out.
And we are going to see generator number 3 getting done across the way. We do hear that generator that's right over to our right here from where Solar Blazer is currently looking. Has quite a bit of progress as well, so they were definitely split up. We do see Nia taking the hit, but being able to build a little bit of distance, so they are going to be able to get the save. Would not be surprised, yep, I was going to say, to see Solar Blazer call on to Victor here. See if maybe you can get the double down, especially because at this point, even if Chungus happened to have borrowed time, it will have expired. That is now going to be a down on the Vercon here. And oh my goodness, talk about some pressure by the Arctic Wolves killer Solar Blazer right now.
Absolutely. Twins was a very smart pick for Solar Blazer to bring out here, showing that he is very comfortable with how this killer works and very aware of what he needs to do in this moment in time. However, I do see some really good commitment to generator progress here, and that might be why.
Yeah, we did see that the Ace decided to stick the gen over here. We did see that since Solar Blazer did make the way over towards the finished gen, which kind of makes sense, right? Like, if you know that that's where the one last person that is currently up in the map, why wouldn't you go over there? And Chungus taking that very brief second to go ahead and use the Deliverance to build distance, but we see Solar Blazer has already found their way back over to Chungus. Chungus now back on the ground. Zaf being the only player who might be able to make a play here, but time is definitely dwindling.
Yeah, time is running out. We will see the kick on Victor, though, which means that Vercon gets to get back on his feet.
Yeah, talk about a very unfortunate series of timing. Almost like as Solar Blazer was switching back to Charlotte's form, you saw Zaf coming around the corner, so not enough time to switch back over to Victor, so Victor did get crushed, unfortunately. And as we saw, that resulted in Vercon off the ground. Do got to keep in mind, though, we were just not too long ago, we had 2 players on the ground. Ooh, a little bit of a missed pounce, unfortunately catching the very edge of the door frame there. But now, look at it. We've got all 3 survivors up. And keeping in mind that we only need 1 gen left, we still might be looking at a play at the doors.
Absolutely. I do think we will probably see what happens with these doors here. And if someone has brought Noed once again, but until that point, we do see the reset from our survivors over on this side of the map. So seeing that they just reset, you got to wonder, is anyone on gens?
Yeah, and this is tough here too. Now, do keep in mind, you're talking about those doors. It does look like Corrupt did get a nice split on their doors. There's a door over to our right, but there's not a door on either corner of the wall, which means there should be a door on the opposite side of the map. So if they do complete a gen over there, you know, our killer is left with kind of a decision of, do I protect the hook or protect the opposite farthest door? Which does also have to be closest to those 2 gens that they need to be protecting. We do see Solar Blazer coming over here. We see this gen not quite to 75%, but getting pretty close. But that also, keep in mind, the corner in the back, the gen in the back that Solar Blazer started going to, that's the one that Vercon was on earlier. It's got quite a bit of progress throughout the course of the trial. Wouldn't be surprised if that one's also close to popping.
Yeah, if I was going to place a bet on which 2 generators they're trying to focus on, it would probably be that one.
Yeah, and we see, you know, here we see Victor coming out. I like the play here, especially knowing that you have 2 injured survivors. We do see a reset coming in onto Vercon. Can't help but wonder if that means we're going to see a reset onto Zaf here shortly. It did sound like we might have actually heard maybe it was the Nia falling from the top mid up behind us. We do see that we were able to get the instinct, the heartbeat there, right, from Victor. So we were able to get the application onto Chungus. So you did basically change a health state from the reset onto Zaf, and now Chungus currently has Victor on the back.
And not quite as much pressure as we've seen at other points, but I think our survivors might be feeling it right now, as they still haven't been able to pop that last gen.
Yeah, definitely feeling some pressure. If I had to say, though, if there's anything that's working for Corrupt right now, is the 3 survivors that are out on the field right now for you are the 3 survivors that are like have the most time in the game playing together, right? It is the 3 boys from Runaways. It is Vercon. It is Zaf. It is Chungus. We've seen them being able to pull things together, and they were almost back to being fully healed. Although at this point, we do see 3 fully injured survivors, but definitely feeling pressure, but I don't think they're completely overwhelmed either. We do see Victor now coming out here with the Ace. The Ace now opting to go for the locker play. That is probably going to result and Ace just getting snagged out of the locker because you can't really go over to protect the locker because you don't have anybody that has an extra health state, right?
Yeah, and we did see Vercon with that the med kit over there, but I don't know if they were preparing to go and try to save Zaf or not.
Yeah, interesting because we do see that Solar Blazer was able to come over here and put some pressure on the Vercon here. This generator, I don't know if that's quite the 50%, but does have a decent amount of progress. But again, keep in mind the one over in the back corner, we still haven't really checked up on that one in a little while. Can't help but wonder if maybe that one is also relatively pretty well progressed. The only thing is now with Vercon actually coming back here, we can hear that actually it sounds like that one in the back corner has regressed quite a bit. So this generator that we're by right now, I'm pretty sure is the one that's closest to popping.
And we're seeing some very interesting Victor plays here. We're calling him off of that locker to chase after Vercon instead.
And I can't help but, bring up, a lot of the times when we see the twins come out in comp play, it turns into like at this point in a lot of trials where it's like the 3v1 into kind of a standoff. And instead, we're seeing a lot of high action kind of play between the 3 survivors because you're so spread out among the map. You don't really have like the ability to go somewhere to reset, but that's a good thing because since you are so spread out, Solar Blazer doesn't really know where to commit to a full chase to get it down, right?
Yeah, our survivor's definitely putting on a good show of why you got to stay away from your friends sometimes. 6 feet apart is best because he can't find 2 of them in the same place at once to get that pressure he had earlier. They definitely adjusted to that.
Also worth noting, we've had 3 injured survivors for quite some time. So our survivors here are opting to go for the objective over healing each other. Now that we are going to see that is going to equal Chungus going down. Ooh, we're seeing another injured survivor running away from a Victor. That is not good. Ooh, you're not able to get the stun. Ooh, getting the hit. That probably made Zaf really, really happy to get the crush and the down, but that does result in 2 players on the ground, and Vercon is injured as well.
We do see that last gen pops, and we also see adrenaline pop for Vercon, so not a too bad situation for him to be on. Good on him for focusing on that last gen, knowing it would put him in a state where he could also maybe try to help his friends out here.
Yeah, you mentioned helping out his friends here, and that's a very, it's a very interesting situation that we have caught Vercon in because you are right now looking at 3 progressions that are sitting on a hook currently. You probably don't want to walk out the door knowing that you would basically be giving those to Solar Blazer here. But at the same time, the only door that you've probably put progress on is the one that's all the way across the map. And if you come in for the save, you could potentially not only be giving Solar Blazer the 3 progressions that you don't want to right now, but also giving them the 2 extra points for the 4K, as well as the extra hook on the Vercon here. So I'm going to be interested to see what Vercon's play is.
Definitely. We have seen before that Corrupt will sometimes make questionable moves not to leave anyone behind. So it could be interesting. We do see Vercon was on top of that shrine there to try to see if he could make a play, but not in time before one of his teammates will progress to death and another 2-second stage.
Oh, this is tough too because we're going to see the application. So this is going to be a race for the door here. Keep in mind, right, like you're not going to be able to escape through that exit door if you do have Victor on. We are going to see the crush on the Victor. This is going to be, at this point, Solar Blazer just pushing Vercon out the door. We did see quite a few progressions, but 11 stages on the twins. I mean, I know we talked that Solar Blazer is a twins main and we should expect exciting play, but it doesn't stop me from being blown away whenever we see him bring out the twins. You know what I mean?
I think it's okay to appreciate good gameplay when you see it. Definitely agree with you. This was a very, very good twins play here. A lot of pressure at any given moment on the survivors. Just really, really fun to watch. I know a lot of people don't like playing against twins, but I love to watch twins be played.
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes we see, again, sometimes twins turns into this like, hey, let's play ourselves into a 3-gen situation. That way we can retreat across the map, reset. It's kind of like this long, sometimes like a longer drawn out process, but sometimes we saw exactly what we just got there, which was just, I mean, a lot of go, go, go. If I'm not in the form of Victor pushing pressure by trying to get an application somewhere, I'm with Charlotte and I'm moving trying to get some more information. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, very high octane gameplay from both sides here. Just really, really incredible to watch. You saw a lot of really good, even though there was a lot of pressure put out by the twins here, our survivors really worked together to do their best to keep each other going, keep each other up on their feet, and keep themselves even split up enough so that no one was ever really too much of a liability at any given point in time.
Now here's where things get interesting, my friend Shep. We are looking at Corrupt right here. Is looking at, what is that, a 13-point deficit? Is that right? 37-50?
I believe it's a 13-point deficit, but I'm not great at math.
So,
I'll agree with you there.
You know, right now, you talked about Corrupt already used a nurse. We saw Corrupt the first trial for their killer today. They used the spirit, but you're down. Do you use another S tier killer? Do you use a third of your S tier options in week number 2 in order to put yourself in the best situation to walk away with a dub here? Or do you maybe come out with a stronger A tier killer like maybe a Huntress or something like that and kind of hope for the best?
You know, I really think it could go either way, honestly. I mean, on the one hand, Corrupt still has a chance to bring this game back in their favor. Not insurmountable odds, but it could be pretty hard. So if they want to win this, they could bring out an S tier and, you know, do what they're going to do. But on the other hand, I wonder if this is a point where you're like, okay, do we want to burn an S tier to maybe secure a win? Or do we want to play it safe, play a lower tier killer we're really good with, do what we can there, but at the very least, even if they aren't able to make up the points, they aren't burning an S tier killer. I think it really could go either way for these teams here.
Yeah, I'll be interested because, you know, we have seen in a couple of situations already where maybe you try to bring out a killer that's strong, but not the strongest. I mean, we saw, you know, a Freddy get 2-staged yesterday where maybe wasn't exactly what you were looking for. And right here, you know, maybe you don't want to take any risks. I do know that our team for Corrupt has some strong killers, and even if it's not Burkon, we might be looking at some other options here. So I do see I've got an invite coming in from somebody else. I'm not going to say who. No spoilers. But yeah,
definitely. I'm not really sure. Like, I'm thinking about that question. I don't know who we see here. What do you think is going through our team's minds right now as they're trying to figure out what needs to be done?
Well, I think what's interesting here is if you are the Arctic Wolves, knowing that you're coming out on the Survivor side, you do have a 13-point lead. You just have to make sure that right now you're keeping things very talkative. That way it's easier to remain talkative and having good communication in the trial. Because right now, if you can, with a 13-point lead, if you can just minimize hooks, even if you allow extra progressions, like you're kind of in a good spot, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely wouldn't be hard for Arctic Wolves to be able to keep the lead here, if they can keep up those clean comms that we've been seeing consistently, and like good teamwork. So I think this is going to be such a tough match for both sides here because it really still, even with a 13-point difference in the score here, I really think it still could be anyone's game.
Yeah, and you know, we had talked about heading into this matchup, how we were probably looking at these are two teams that are probably going to be in the playoff, right? Potentially going as far as the semifinals. So we talk about how this game could be potentially looking at some seeding differences between the two once we get to playoffs, meaning that even though this is like a week 2 game, and generally you would think in this sort of situation that week 2 like isn't anything like where there's like a game that matters, but it could be playing a pretty big like role later on, right?
Absolutely. As you progress in the league, every win counts for if you're going to those playoffs or not. So it's not silly to think that even though it's just game 2, it is just as important as, game 9 or 10 or 11 or 12.
And I'll be interested here because I see the name that we've got coming in. I know it's a newer roster edition. I'll be interested here because I know Furcon's really adept, like as far as on a lot of their S tier killers, which makes me think maybe it's not an S tier coming out here, but we still could be looking at another, kind of like we're talking about another strong, like A tier-ish sort of killer coming out. Which is probably the safest bet for Corrupt 2, right? Because we had talked about, you've already used the Nurse, you've used the Spirit today. I don't know if you want to use basically half of your S tier picks before you get out of the second week, right?
Yeah, that would be putting themselves in a pretty weird position, honestly. And I think people think that the S tiers, people probably think that the S tiers are like your safe pick because they're so strong. I think there's more that you have to consider for a safe pick than just if the killer is strong or not, especially considering that your kill uses are limited to 2 until you get to the end of this thing, So the safer bet might be to have a bunch of really good A tier killers available to use, because it is a safer play to use someone who you are still strong with, but you have like other options and you have stronger options that are going to be left on the table by playing that A tier killer.
Yeah, and I it's again, it's interesting. It feels weird. It doesn't feel like a week 2 game right now, does it? Right? Like it's close. It's 2 really good teams. You're like, man, this thing matters. The good news is, whoever happens to walk away from this game without the W still has some time to make up for that, be able to put themselves in a good position for playoffs. But definitely can't help but think that this matchup here, this trial basically, could be looking at some playoff seeding implications. Kind of crazy.
Absolutely. This does kind of feel like a little bit of a peek into the future. Because again, as we've said before, these are 2 really strong teams. They have some players who are well known in the league on either side. So yeah, it kind of feels like a little bit of a peek into the future of what we could be seeing. But also, because it is so early in the season, we might not see these teams in the same capacity, even if we do see them again. This is a lot of time to learn and grow and change tactics, approaching the end of the season when we get there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Now here we see, I've seen some items getting into some hand. We might be looking at our survivors nearing being ready to switch things over here. I do see some questions as far as in the chat, maybe some concerns as far as if this game is out of control or not. But this is still winnable. It will definitely take a really good game from Corrupt here. But you are going into the killer trial. Keep in mind, we talked about heading into trials 1 and 2. There's 30 points available on the killer side, 26 available on the survivor side. So it almost makes it so that lead isn't quite as big, right?
Absolutely. And while we discuss it, I think we are good to go, actually. I think they are just as eager as we are to see who makes it to the end of this. But I will agree with you. Yeah, 13 points is not an insurmountable, obstacle, especially when you're playing killer. You have the most amount of points to earn here. So a perfect game, every bit of points you can get, that'll shoot you way past what you need.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind, though, is, of course, they are in different divisions. So maybe knowing that, maybe here you don't bring out the double S, but, like the double S tier since we saw the one. But I don't know, going to be interesting. We see now we're heading into the load screen. We're going to make sure that we have all of our offerings and everything as well. And then we're going to be we talked about it. This was going to be a matchup that we weren't going to know the result until we're at least halfway through trial number 4. There's 1 bloody blueprint, 2, 3, 4. We've also got ourselves a cut coin. How about we go over some penalty bans, shall we? Or some penalty
So let's
rules.
go over those and see what you don't want to be doing. We've already talked about banned perks. Let's talk about things that can get you in trouble in other places. So matches and penalties may be played out or restarted or both. The option is available to our players. Penalties include having 2 of the same survivor, banned perk, item, or add-on, and that it will be -5 points and a possible restart if it is deemed necessary. Wrong map is -5 points and an auto restart. Harassing the refs, please don't do that. Bringing players not on the roster, that is -10 points per offense. No restart for those though, so don't harass the refs, don't bring people not on your roster. Using an exhausted killer is -10 points, and an auto restart delaying the game is 1 point for every 5 minutes. For every minute past the first 5. For more on rules, check !rules in chat. Wow, that was really hard to say for some reason.
It's okay. It's all right. We had yet another very fast load time. So we are now in trial number 4. Keep in mind, this is Corrupt versus, why'd that change? Yeah, Corrupt versus Arctic Wolves. And we are looking at a 13-point difference here. A 13-point differential for Osaka to start building into. We are going to see a very early chase here. We are in the uncorrupt side of the map. We do see that corrupt intervention. Definitely something you are going to see a lot in competitive DBD. You don't want to be giving the team any access to all of your gens right off the bat. That is now 2 entered states at this point. We are going to see Osaka now coming this way, putting pressure over towards the actual shack itself. We are going to see, though, we are coming on the backside here. Should be able to get the M1 before the pallet. That is going to be a very, very fast down for Osaka here.
Very unfortunate. Yeah, unfortunately, running into that... Ooh. Oh, this looks like it's going to be first basement hook as well. Running, like I was saying, running into that barbed wire there kind of puts you in an animation lock the very first time you step on it. So that was just very unfortunate that they couldn't get out of that animation lock to get the pallet down to save themselves from this basement hook.
Yeah, and that's tough, right? Because if, let's say, for instance, Spider does happen to get out of the basement and you don't want to have to deal with, let's say, a decisive strike or borrowed time or anything like that for the next hook, since they are inflicted there, now you have the ability to put them into cage for your second hook state. So we do see Osaka coming over here. We're noticing no sparks off of that gen, right? That means there's no ruin in play here as far as helping with the regression on the gen. It is going to be a lot about putting just overall pressure out here, because you'll also notice we haven't kicked any gens to apply any pop goes the weasel either, right?
Yeah, odd choice not to kick gens that are so closely progressed, but maybe he's more concerned about securing the second stage here, because that's only our first generator gone.
And we are going to see that generator over here, that one in the middle that we did see earlier, that has a decent amount of progress there. We are going to see that deadlock in play. I feel like we mentioned it a lot. Interesting to see in the competitive scene, a lot more teams opting to go for the deadlock, even though I think debatably you aren't getting super huge value out of it. You are getting some information, but, you know, we talked about in this case, you don't have any ruin to help with regression. You don't have any pop goes the weasel. And you're in a situation where you're needing to put a lot of pressure. We are seeing a second hook state coming in. So basically a progression coming in onto Spider there. That being really big, especially, again, knowing that they are tormented. So now at this point, they can just die at their hand. You don't even have to use a hook state, right?
Absolutely. That can just, Pyramid Head is one of those characters who is uniquely lucky to be able to, just immediately Mori people. And this is bad. This is 3 people in the basement with a killer who can hit multiple people at once.
Yeah, we've got multiple people. No downs yet, though, but we do see the borrowed time hit coming in, meaning if Lori happens to get away, that's going to be some extra time. Nice dead hard, bruh. Able to make it over to the window here. We do have 2 generators complete. I think that second one happened to get complete while we were in the basement for that transaction there. We did follow those scratch marks, came up towards Nia. That is not who Osaka is looking for. Osaka is most definitely looking for the Lori. We have found the Lori. Lori jumping into the locker here, though. Can't help but imagine with Lori having just gotten off the hook. Oh, slapped him with the D. Put it down, my friend. And that's going to be some distance built here. Knowing that we are on death hook and can be killed at the hand. That's some extra time. That's some very critical time that was built there by Spider. Really nice play.
Absolutely. Very smart teaser, decides to strike there. There will be no other chances otherwise for him. And if Pyramid Head, even if they were only on going into second stage, if Pyramid Head cages them here because they are tormented, you don't get the benefit of unhook perks if you've been caged. So getting pulled out of the cage, you don't get BT, you don't get decisive strike triggers, it doesn't count as a hook, so you lose all of those benefits.
Yeah, really important like thing to point out there, especially because like as far as the wording in it all, right? Like you get borrowed time off of an unhook, and even as far as talking about since you only have had one save so far. Let's say if Nia happens to go to a cage next, if Nia is not the person that has, or if Nia's the one that has the deliverance after the save, and they happen to go to a cage, you can't even use deliverance either, right?
So, just very unfortunate if those cages get used on you. You lose a lot of the benefits of perks that probably a lot of these survivors have.
Now, to keep in mind, I do believe it was actually the other survivor that win the base. I think it was the ace that got the save, in case anyone tries to check me in chat. I know. I was just using the example, but we do see here some nice work being put out by the Nia coming across the map, and Osaka making a very smart choice there. Breaking chase, knowing that you still have quite a few gens over here that you want to protect, especially as we see here coming over towards this gen. That thing getting really close to completion. We're definitely past 75%, not quite to 85, but we're really getting close to that thing being done. And even this one here has a lot of progress too.
Yeah, a lot of really good gen pressure being applied by these survivors.
And we did see a very unfortunate, I think it was reading Osaka as just a stare up there, so it didn't allow for the shot of the Rights of Judgment through the actual structure, unfortunately. We do see now working around the TNL wall. Keep in mind, we're seeing a 4th gen getting done across the way. That 4th gen, though, does lock our survivors into a 3-gen situation. However, knowing that we're looking at Osaka needing like a 3K and a lot of hook stages, with only 1 gen left and only 2 stages thus far, definitely got to be feeling good if you're Arctic Wolves right now.
Yeah, you are. If you're Arctic Wolves, you're definitely sitting pretty here with this situation. It could still go either way, though. We have seen some pretty intense comebacks, even from this point in the game.
Oh, and I think I still probably would have forced the M1 there. I think it looked like we were trying to work our way back around so that we were able to get closer to our injured survivor. That is a 5th gen coming in, though, across the way. Now, we are going to see that no way out proxing. Unfortunately, since we have only seen 1 hook state, that means only 1 stack of no way out, meaning it's not very much protection. But, not sure if you guys noticed that, but on the right side of the screen, you're going to see that haste status, meaning we currently have no one escapes death in play. But also, Osaka has some rather friendly doors here. Ooh, get stunned, stupid! Plus 10 wood to the face. Ooh, but you walked right back up into the trail, Solar Blazer. That's unfortunate.
And using the M2 there on the first down for after the last jet has been popped, I don't think our survivors are going to know that Noed is on the table right now.
Yeah, and this is tough here. I am going to do a very quick check just to make sure that that is not a spectator bug. We are going to see 2 players taking this out, 3 out. Yeah, that's a really smart choice. I mean, that's 2 hooks, 3 progressions. Really strong performance there by Arctic Wolves. We'll wait for the scorekeeper to finalize the score, but if I'm not mistaken, that should pretty well be Arctic Wolves finalizing things up there and walking away with a very impressive, 20+ point win against Corrupt here.
Yeah, that is, they were able to widen that gap and safely secure a win here today in what was a very close match, a lot of the way through.
Yeah, and we talked about we were expecting to see a really close matchup, and I know we talked about it being a 20-point win for Arctic Wolves here, but I feel like saying that it's a 20-point win makes it seem like the matchup was not as close as it was. I definitely feel that we saw the 2 teams really fighting back and forth on 2 sides there, but Arctic Wolves just really showing why they're on this hot streak that they've been on here recently, right?
Absolutely. They are really securing their place as a team to keep an eye on, even just in week 2. I think everyone knows this is a team that you can't take lightly.
Yeah, 100%. Now we see teams definitely are going to be thinking that after seeing them come in and be able to do this, right? Like, I think a lot of teams kind of had Corrupt is one of those teams they wanted to keep an eye out for when they played against Corrupt, as well as Arctic Wolves, if they happen to have them both on the schedule. But now seeing Arctic Wolves coming out in the fashion they did, definitely putting the league on notice for sure.
Absolutely. And again, like I said earlier, this is only week 2. So I'm really excited to see how these two teams progress and how they grow and change as the tourney and as the league progresses. Because I don't think you never really stop learning. No matter how good you are, there is always more to learn.
Yeah, and one thing that what's interesting to point out, you talk about learning, we saw, maybe coming out with some killer choices on the Arctic Wolf sides where we were seeing maybe some growing pains a little bit, but we saw the 11 stages on the Twin, which was, really just phenomenal. And keep in mind, we're talking about a win for Arctic Wolves here without using an S tier killer against a top team. It's pretty impressive.
I would agree that Twins, Silver Wizard really came out to show that he wasn't here to mess around. And it was just an incredibly good game to watch. All 4 matches, honestly, were very good. Good job to both of the teams here today for showing us just how it's done.
Yeah, I like it. I also, can't help but point out also there at the end, we did see in the post-game lobby, right? We had seen the players back and forth, the GGs and everything else. Knowing that sometimes there's a stigma that the competitive scene is just toxic and sweaty, but really, as we talked about, it's just a bunch of group of people who have fun playing together, getting together, and kind of balancing out things with a nice strict set of rules.
Yeah, I feel like in comp, it's a lot more organized than in pubs. So
Yep.
you don't see quite a bit of the toxicity that you're going to see from just having random people playing together with all vastly different objectives from one another sometimes. In comp, everything's pretty much condensed down to this is bare bones, like this is what is going to happen or what is not going to happen. So like a narrower set of rules, I feel like there's not as much room for it. Like, of course, anyone can be toxic in any situation, but I think you really don't see too much of that here because we're all here. We all understand what we're doing here. There's no reason
Right.
to be that way.
Right, yeah, 100%. I also just like it too because I feel like it also helps add like an extra layer of strategy to things for people who are looking to go a little bit deeper, right? Like after you've played a couple thousand hours, playing a trial the regular way, kind of you've already seen so much. Whereas now you come in, and especially on the killer side, I really like pointing out the skill and the comprehension that it takes to play killer on the competitive scene, because in a public game, you can just kind of assume everyone has dead hard until told otherwise, right? Whereas in competitive,
Yeah.
since you have to have unique perks, you have to, okay, Nia has the balanced landing, Adam has the dead hard, Nancy has the life, right? Like, there's so much more that like has to go down thought process wise. It's actually really fun to watch. Not only that, like our players being able to like process all of that very quick, but even seeing some of like the unique strategies that they come out with on top.
Absolutely. It's always very interesting to see how, with the restrictions placed on them, how our teams deal with what is being thrown at them, because we all know the rules, but everyone has been so creative with how they apply them. And it does look like we do have Spider here in the interview chair to have a chat with us. How are you doing today, Spider?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for asking. I'm really glad to hear that you're doing well.
I would figure after coming out and having a very impressive win against Corrupt, I thought you would be at least a little more excited. You gotta be feeling good after that, right?
Yeah, but I'm nervous, so.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. But, yeah, the entire team is very happy. We were very glad about our performance. The killer played well. Especially the P-head match, we knew our point advantage, and we kind of like came up with an idea of how we want to approach this, so I'm glad it worked out.
I like it. Now, tell me, as far as when you're coming into a trial like that, right? You've got a decent lead. but like it's not secured yet. What is there any extra like? Is there any extra conversations being had to make sure that everyone's still got like the foot on the gas heading into Trial 4 there?
We always tell ourselves, or like the team should always tell themselves, don't quit or don't, like go slower until we see the final result and
Right.
the final victory or defeat. But like, yeah, we always try to keep ourselves in that mindset, because if someone if someone gets behind and like maybe they do a misplay, or like with my chase, I died basement, which I probably shouldn't have. I was like, oh no, I wasn't thinking about this.
Right.
But our team is there to back each other up. It's like, hey, let's keep going. Make sure you don't stop until we're out. And I like it. I'm glad our team is always there to back us up.
Yeah, you talk about like kind of the team always kind of being together there, and like it really kind of shows every time. I feel like the Arctic Wolves come out to play and the rotations, you can definitely tell the communication is there, and we definitely also saw it just with the basement save itself. Like that had to have been a lot of communication between the three of you guys to make sure everyone got out there, right?
Oh yeah, kind of a play-by-play. We had our deli go down for the save. Like we wanted our deli to definitely be there for the save and one other person. So we called for the reset, and like there were so many comms like, hey person, go back to main, we're gonna go for save and double save, but we ended up finishing main. I thought we wouldn't have enough time, but we did. So it was kind of like a triple save at that point. But yeah, there was just a lot of comms in between, because we need to make sure that we do it right, or else that match could have gone very differently.
So at this point, knowing that you've been able to come in here, you were able to have a very good performance against Corrupt. Is there any other team that you feel like when you look at your schedule that like you have circled like, oh, I can't wait till we play them?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what team we face. I don't see our future schedule, but there's a lot of other teams that I have noticed, and I was like, oh, I wonder how our match will go. So I can't really like remember the names because I'm not good at remembering things.
No worries, no worries.
But there's definitely some teams I'll be glad to face, definitely.
Fantastic. And before we wrap things up here, Shep, do you happen to have any other questions or anything like that?
Yeah, do you have anything to say to Corrupt? Now that it's the end of you guys' match, do you have any words for any parting words for them?
I would say
get wrecked, nerds. No, I'm just
yeah, we're just a better team. No, I'm kidding.
The spider seems too nice for that. And rub off on him too.
But you guys played killer well. I mean, the spirit just needs to, not gonna lie, just work on chases a little bit, and I feel like the spirit would be pretty good. And the P-head is just P-head. Against a decent team, it's probably not going to go so well, but it was a fun match, and I hope you guys also had fun.
Fantastic.
Love to see the sportsmanship here. Like, hey, I know we're competitors, but like, let me help you out a little. We love to see that you guys are giving each other advice here, even as competitors against each other. Do you have anything you would like to say to the fans of Arctic Wolves or the fans of Vigos in general?
Always be sportsman, or like what I just said, like don't ever try to belittle somebody just because he won, and especially in Dead by Daylight, because it is extremely RNG based most of the time. So I would say just always try to just be nice to one another. I guess that's my final message.
Always be kind. That is a mood right there.
I love it. Well, Spider, we appreciate you coming in and joining us in the interrogation room. And I do believe on that note, we might as well just go ahead and convict Arctic Wolves of murder.
I will concur. Arctic Wolves has been convicted of murder after a really thrilling 4 matches to watch. Both teams did incredibly today, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the season holds for both Corrupt and Arctic Wolves.
Yep, indeed. And keep in mind, chat, we are going to have another matchup here tonight, here in about an hour and a half at 9 o'clock. And then we do have a couple of more matches tomorrow as well, since there is going to be a little bit of a break. Once we are done here, we are going to be passing you on to somebody. Let's keep in mind, whenever we raid off as a community here in Vigos, let's just share the love, share the hype, and let people know that, you know, this is where we get to show people that us here as a competitive scene, we're just a bunch of really chill folks that are getting together and having a fun time, right?
Absolutely. And before we raid out, I want to remind you guys, if you aren't already and you want to make sure you catch every match, please follow all of our social media. We have a Facebook, we have an Instagram, we have a Twitter. You can find us all under Vigos Court there. That is where you can get notifications, extra notifications or extra notice of when games are being played and who's playing.
Indeed. And so with that note, that is Judge Jep. I counsel you. All right. And until we catch y'all next time, don't forget, for real, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love harder. All right, y'all? Peace.
Take words from Spider 2. Be kind. Bye, guys.